Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're back in War Thunder looking at another replay sent in by Daddelprinz. Now you might remember Daddelprinz. He last time was in his Focke-Wulf 190 D13 and was able to carry the match, and now he's in ground forces in the STRV-81, basically a premium version of the Centurion Mark III, which has 3 ATGM rockets strapped to it. If you have any replays that you'd like me to review and put on the channel, please look in the description below where there is a link to my email where you can send them to me. That was a bit of a sidetrack, but let's get back into it. So, Daddelprinz isn't alone in this replay. He has 3 squad mates with him from his squadron, and they're all in T29s. So we have a very solid 6-7 lineup here of 4 very good premium vehicles. The T29, in my opinion, is probably the best 6.7 premium vehicle. It's compared to the RU251, they're very similar. If I was going to give it to one of them, I'd give it to the RU251, but that's only because it has a higher skill ceiling. If you're looking for something which is going to be good all the time, no matter what or how good you are in the game, the T29 is going to be something you want to go for over the RU251. But anyway, Daddelprinz moves on to the first point in Hurtgen Forest, takes it with his team, and moves straight to the second point, the one which is slightly lower. This iteration of Hurtgen Forest is probably the one I enjoy the most, just because you don't have to traverse over long distances, and you don't feel like you're isolated if you go to one of the points. But that does mean over this little period here, where you have to get across to the C position, you can get caught out by tanks which are coming from the opposite side, coming down from their spawn, basically just directly from their spawn instead of going to capture the point and back. But luckily Daddelprinz is able to get into a position to cover himself, and also with the backup of the 3 T29s, he can keep pushing forward, checking everything as he goes, missing a few tanks here and there, but it doesn't matter too much. You can see he's using Sabo on the 84mm. I think that's a good idea. He runs into an IS-6 though. IS-6s generally don't care about what shot you're firing at them, especially if you fire them at the lower glacis. There's a lot of armor there, even though it may seem like a weak point. It's not a massive weak point, especially if you're in this position close to them, but he focuses on some other areas instead of the IS-6. Generally, it's better just to leave other people to deal with machines like that, and you can take out all of the supports around them. So, he sends an enemy to the grave, or at least the squad of T29s behind him does, and then he finds himself a T-44-100. The reason you can tell it's a T-44-100 is the fact that it has the side skirts on the side of this T-44, and also the gun is slightly large. I don't know what happened to that shot. I'm guessing it just didn't register on the server, so that means that he can get another shot before reloading. Takes out the turret, and there's a PT-76 here. PT-76s are actually pretty useful in games like this. With the HeatFS shell that they actually have, they can pen a lot more than you may think. Their armor is not so great, but, well, it is how it is. They also get a stabilizer now, which makes them slightly better. So that's all of the backup forces dealt with how this IS-6 was dealing with, and the IS-6 just basically crumbles to the pressure. This whole line here has been taken out by Daddelprinz and his squad mates, and it's just wonderful to watch. I wish I could do it from each of their perspectives, but unfortunately that doesn't really work in the War Thunder replay system. I can't show their movements or what they think. So after just completely ransacking the enemy team in about 4 minutes, they're gone. And this is what I talked about before, where the first 5 minutes of a battle is incredibly important. If you can put your foot in the door in the first 5 minutes of the battle, if you can get that decent advantage, then you're just going to steamroll the team. And that's exactly what has happened in this match. It is a great showing of, first of all, how you can be aggressive in an STRV, which is basically a Centurion, while being backed up by squad mates in very large tanks with very large guns, with decent turret armor. But because of that first 5-minute push, because so many tanks were taken out in such a short period of time, it meant that they can't get back into the battle quick enough. So that means that Daddelprinz and everybody else can just do what they want. They just absolutely massacred the enemy. Now, even though there is probably a lonely tank who is taking A, you don't really have to worry about it because you know that you just slaughtered their own team. But that guy's dead, so you don't have to shoot him. It also shows that the Saber round on the 84mm for me is a really good round. It's something that generally has done me quite good service. Even though I don't have the STRV-81, I've played the Carnarvon and the Centurion Mark III to absolute death, just because I really enjoy playing them. So even though the splash after the round penetrates isn't great, it's really good for accurate fire even over longer distances compared to a lot of others. So now we can be a bit freer, just move down the central road, and something key as well, he didn't use any of his ATGMs, and I think this might be down to the fact that these rockets are really annoying to use. First of all, to fire them, you're not allowed to control your tank, so you have to be stationary, and you obviously can't use the gun. That's a poor ZSU. He could have actually killed him. You can actually pen the turret ring with that gun on the ZSU, and then ammo racks, that T-44-100 there. Great work. But anyway, the rockets in themselves, you have to be stationary while you use them. You have to control them using keyboard, so it's not one of the mouse aiming rockets that we see in game. And they're just generally a pain in the ass, because when you fire them, they fire up at an angle, so then no matter what, you're going to have to move them around. They're not something that you can fire directly at a target, which makes them annoying as hell. But anyway, Daddelprinz unfortunately loses a head-on battle with a T-34-100, a premium which used to haunt me, but nowadays, well, it basically looks like a kitten. Now he's using the rockets of the Wyvern, smashes a target, and basically just finishes off this match. As you can see, his team is in such a dominant position. Generally, because of that first 4 minutes of really good firing from him and his squad mates, this was just a battle which was won from there. The Wyvern as well can carry so many rockets, and because of the buff to the accuracy of them, it's an absolute dangerous attacker in these ground forces situations. So if you haven't played it in a while and you think, oh, well, it's just a heavy fighter and it doesn't really stack up against aircraft, you should go for it. You should give it a go. But anyway, let's have a look at the stats. So Daddelprinz finishes off with 5 ground kills, 1 assist, and 3 base captures, with only 1 death being the STRV. Colm Korbeck, one of his squad mates in the T-29s, 4 ground kills, 0 deaths, 2 captures. Schnabulator, sorry if I butchered that, it's probably Schnee or Schnabulator, 4 kills, 0 deaths once again, and Zared, 1 kill, 2 assists, 2 ground captures, and 0 deaths. So collectively, as a squad, these 4 members of KG-42, 1 death, and then 4, 8, 9, 14 kills between them. Absolutely ridiculous, and a perfect way to show how 4 members of a squad can just carry a game in War Thunder, and how valuable communication and tactics can be. And if it's also, let's just call it a general idea, if you want to learn about the game, if you want to communicate, there are tons of squadrons out there which all you have to do is just message their members, ask them, you know, what they do or stuff like that. There's also a part of the forum on the War Thunder website which goes through all of the squadron stuff, how to meet people and things like that. You can even go to Thunderskill and you'll find invitations, probably to your own account, from squadrons which are interested in you and which ones want you to join. And generally, it is a much better experience, it is much more interesting and gets you more involved in the game, which I think is something that is always fun. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.